There we go. I'm glad I realized I was muted before I started talking too much. But yeah, hi. I'm going to continue on the eye setup. So, I'm going to try my best in this series to not do any work off stream. So I've not worked on the shaders at all, but in the interest of transparency, I have naturally changed the lighting. So yeah, we're gonna basically just continue from where we are right now. This is shader-wise exactly where we were at the end of last stream. So we have our layers. There's a few things that bother me about this. Main one being the sharpness of this line and the brightness of this highlight compared to this one. To me, that suggests that the light is too bright. And then when we darken that light, we'll realize that the lens and the cornea is too dark. So we'll have to bump those back up, but we'll rebalance that. Hey Roger, how's it going, man? But yeah, so not really a huge amount to discuss. I'm just gonna start working on it. We do have quite a bit of geometry changes to do. But yeah, as always, if there's any questions at all, by all means ask. And yeah, we'll just keep working on this guy. I have saved this snapshot, so we can look back at this later. In fact, actually, while I'm at it, I am going to change the lights now. So let's do a darker split lamp. So let's say, see the iris doesn't have a color yet, but we'll ballpark it for the iris and then brighten everything else up. This feels a bit better. It's not blowing out as much. Yeah, how do you kill that second reflection that pops up on the inner part of the sclera? As in like the back of the eye or the inner? Like I'd need to know about your setup. Like, have you done a thickness on the cornea or no? Okay, so that's ballpark, right? Let's get the cornea. Transmission. I'm just going to move this onto the screen. Yes to which one? Model it with a thickness or something else? Okay. Transmission weight. Hey man, watching part one, it was so insightful. Really, really interesting to see how to make realistic eyes like this. Great work. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. This is still too dim. Let's see. If I set this down to like, oh, not that. So that gets the brightness that I'd want. But obviously we've killed the iris itself. Well, actually, that's far too bright. Let's see. We do need to stay at like 9.7 approximately. So we might need to start doing corneal colors. Let's see. Yeah, we have to start messing about with colors. Okay, so layer RGBA. Okay, sclera. Col. In fact, let's do col sclera. Okay. And then we're going to use isocornea to mix for input 2. Let's think for a moment. Yeah. Call cornea. Okay. So let's throw this into base call. and subsurface color. So this guy needs to be 0.5. And this guy needs to be 1. Okay. Layer call. Clamp. Out. Call. Cornea. It's also interesting to see this stuff done without type of. It's also interesting to see. It's also interesting to see. Nice to see this type of stuff done without the use of in-house complex shaders like what we use at work. Yeah, it's definitely. And I think it's like a lot of in-house shaders like don't have that many extra features. I find a few exceptions from my own history, but not many. Okay, out the cold cornea. Okay, so we have brightness on that. If I tint this red, I say tint. If I make it red, what happens? It's clearly not working. There we go. Nine, 8. Okay, that's a bit brutal. But is this doing what we want now? Closer. I might have to leave this and come back to it, I think. Let's do base color 0.5. Okay. I don't know why saturation defaulted to that. And then subsurface 0.5. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, I needed to adjust that line. Let's fix the line first. So, what we found in the last stream is that the bias needs to be adjusted after a clamp, because otherwise you get the really sharp lines. Yeah, that's already fixed that line. So, let's create a clamp. Yeah, a clamp. Then we'll say clamp ISO cornea base. Okay. Because this base basically just sets the 2 points at which you've got full transmission and full transmission and no transmission. And to bias it to get the correct gamma, like the fall off that I want, I need to clamp it first, so I need to do another range. AI range. And this one we're going to call range ISO cornea gamma. Okay, and that goes into a clamp, which is out ISO cornea. So this one, bias should work now, and it won't give us that same horrible line that the other one did. Yes, let's do 7.5. I'm gonna bump that original light back up as well. So is that 8, wasn't it? Because now we can A/B it. So it gets rid of that line. Clamping it. This is set to 9.7. Maybe even 9.6. Yeah, there we go. It's much nicer. Still not perfect, but it works better than it did. I'm going to change this to 8.75 though. This is even more exponential. Oh, that's too much now. Let's do 0.8. There we go. Line's not quite as harsh now. I'm wondering if it's worth doing like a extremely basic pass of colors. I know that the subsurface is like way too desaturated. Like this is really yellow and mine's kind of grey. So let's address that. Subsurface. Let's go 0.25. That might be a bit too yellow as well. Let's lower this to like 34. That feels like it might be a bit better. I'll let this bit clean up. I do have to remember that I'm using a slightly blue light as well. That feels better. I feel like I kind of want to do like a custom curve for the gamma, rather than just using a gamma as is. What would be the best way to do that? Not entirely sure what smooth step does, to be honest. Oh wow, okay, no, that's way nicer. That's so much nicer. Okay, cool. Smooth step it is. Cool. What else? We do need to start addressing the depth of structures like the lens and the iris as well. The iris currently is perfectly flat, or well, the overall shape of it is perfectly flat right now, and it shouldn't be. It should be angled forward, kind of following the cornea in a way. So let's kill that render, because now we're getting into geometry. How do you... so we also need to thin out the iris towards the root. Oh, there's the lens. Okay, we're going to move the lens forward too. Let's set this to... something like that. It should be extremely close. Not clipping, but close. Okay. Actually, we don't want that, do we? To thin it out. It's easier to do now while it's flat. Okay, and then we're going to want to push you in. So that works a bit better. And from there I need to warp the entire thing. So I still have the warp mesh in there, which doesn't fit. Yeah, so let's push this in so it vaguely matches. Doesn't need to be one-to-one, just in the general ballpark. Okay. So let's see if I can remember what order we need to do everything in. Because I need to wrap deform everything to this. So I think I select all these and select you, then go deform wrap, I think. Yeah, I do. Okay. So let's select that wrap deformer. That's about right. Okay. Something like that. Delete history on all these. Hide you. Grab the lens. Move it forward. Okay, that's where it clips, I think. That'll do. Okay. That's kind of warped it a bit, hasn't it? Let's go back to... How do we soften this? Trying to remember which ways work best. Okay. Delete history on these at this point. Then reselect that wrap mesh. Add some extra cuts. Okay. Let's bump that out, make it feel a bit more natural. Hey Matt. No idea what's going on. Yeah, it's fun. Okay, so delete the history in this guy. Can delete that too, I think. Okay, deform. Let's do a wrap. Yeah. Needs to stop there. Guess that angles everything forward a little bit. Now hide the wrap geo. Needs to be a tiny gap here. Maybe not that. There we go. Okay. So now, if we show the cornea, it's got a slight angle forward now. So if we go back to this guy, we might have a bit too much of a arch. These are closer together now though, which is what we want. Getting a bit more brightness on this side. Not sure that's what we want. Yeah, we've angled it too much, I think. Let's see. Yeah, too much. Okay. So select all these again. In fact, easier just to do that. Okay, then deform again. Wrap deformer. There we go. So I can need to smooth out this guy. Just on the outside. Let's see. Feels better. Ah, would help if I show the iris again. Actually, need to fix this guy up. There we go. That feels better. I feel like I kind of missed this shape, which is really easy to get back. Because we just get this guy. And all we have to do is just bump this guy out a bit. Come on. There we go. There we go, got it back. It's more shallow than it was, but it's kind of what I want. See how the angle change on this highlight is now way more shallow? So that's the old, and then the new. Straighter, more like the ref. It's still angling a bit too far forward, I think. But it's closer. So, yeah, that's feeling better overall. Okay. So, what's next? I feel like I kind of want to just block out some colors. Although I should probably start figuring out the volume shading to some extent. So let's grab both of these. Get our hypershade. In fact, let's get everything. Okay, so we want Strummer Bass, which we're going to have to rename. Let's do a volume. Standard volume. Trying to remember which way all this goes. Volume shader. Okay, I'm going to hide which geometry is this assigned to. Oh, it's sent to both, okay. So let's select both of these guys and just set them up for volume rendering, which I think volume padding of 0.1, step size of 0.2. It's going to be wrong probably, but 0.2. I can't remember what settings you should use. In fact, yeah, that's going to be way too 0.02. Okay. Okay. So we're back to having the volume. Which we can set to whatever density we want. So I'm not going to get too much into it now, but basically this volume shading of the iris is going to be where we spend a huge amount of our time. But for now, let's just set up a basic color. So we want the... We don't want emission, we know that. Transparency, I'm going to keep that default. Although I need to look into how the different transparency and scatter colors will work together. But for now, let's do a super basic color. $200, $400. Hey, workflow. Oh yeah, I need to there we go. Okay, let's increase the brightness of this guy. Not that far. Or maybe yes, that far. To desaturate it a lot. Too red. Can I color pick? How well does color picking work? Well enough. I'll have to lower the value a little bit, but okay, so we definitely want this to come back. Okay, so minus 0.5 is the brightest, so I imagine it's rotating all the way around in that case. So let's do minus 0.5. This is so dark. Okay. This density basically becomes our subsurface, like, radius, in a way. If I set this to, like, 1,000. Just basically a diffuse surface at that point. The highlight gets brighter, and it bleeds through less. So what happens if I change the transparency to a weight? Because I need to learn the shader. Wait. Okay, that's cool. So transparency should be the same. So that's given us the green and red bleed. I'm not sure how depth works with this though. 0.2. There's going to be a lot of experimentation in these. Okay, so increasing depth is allowing the light to bleed through more. So let's back to 400 what it was before, see how this works together. Okay, set this to 1. Again, we've got to learn how everything blends together. It's going to be an absolute nightmare, because I can't remember if I mentioned, but the plan ultimately is to make a shader that what's going to be the best way to explain this? You give like 2 values, one for collagen, one for melanin. You can do it as a map or slider, and it will give you back like a realistic eye color. And so to balance everything together, blue needs to have less density because it's more transparent to the light. But as you increase collagen, it desaturates the blue, like gets rid of the blue, replaces it with grey, and then the melanin stacks on top of that density, and it gets kind of messy. So getting this to react the way that I want all the time is going to be a nightmare. But I mean, it looks like it'll be functional, but we shall see. But yeah, so let's change that transparency depth to 2. But yeah, so there's going to be a lot of like manually setting different kind of checkpoints of values to get the bleeding right. Okay. Decrease the value of this. For now, let's create a color color constant. There we go. We're going to plug this into scatter color and transparent color. This is our eye color essentially. Well, this would be the end result of our eye color. So if we set this to blue, then we'd have to reduce the density, but what effect do we get? I need to find like a slit experiment. Looks like it's working. We may need to desaturate transparency as well at all times, but I think this will work. Okay. So, time to do the cornea color or sclera color. So the thing is, I've got to figure out a lot of stuff ahead of time for this. This is gonna be a fucking nightmare. That's so interesting though. Okay, so how does it bleed through? Like, as we change the angle, does it bleed further? Yeah, it's kind of effects we expected. Yeah, okay, we'll say that's working. So, I need to work on getting this thing with some density variation. So we're going to need volume for that anterior and volume for the posterior. I need to check the anatomical names. Because it's pupillary and ciliary stroma. Iris stroma. Like, technically this definition for how it's modeled isn't going to be correct. But again, the thing I mentioned yesterday, how I want people to be able to Google the names of the meshes and find out roughly what they should do. Collarette, contraction furrows is not the words I'm looking for. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna stroma. Let's just kill the render. Stroma, ciliary region. Stroma pupillary. Region. Okay, so this one is going to be stroma pupillary region. Matt, I'll make the name snazzier at some point. SG. And we'll call this one preview map. So just so it's got a name for the viewport. I need to duplicate the three of these. Edit, duplicate shading network. Delete this guy. Or actually, more accurately, plug these in. Okay. And then this one will be ciliary. Okay. Okay, and then this one gets this guy assigned. So now, in theory, we can add all sorts of shit to this. So we're going to need to set up a shader that keeps the densities together. Like both of these have the same density approximately, but then have something layer on top. So we're going to need to create a float. Is there a float constant? Okay, AI layer float, I guess it is. Stroma layer, stroma, density, global, density. I always do that somehow. So this one will get passed between the two of them. So currently that's set to 400. Base density. Did it again. Okay. So that will go into, where are you? Density. Density. But then this one will multiply. And for now, I'll just throw a noise in there. But AI float multiply. Okay, let's do AI float to RGBA. No, I don't want that. Okay, we'll just single channel it. I don't like that you have to do this every time. We'll do a AI noise, which we will range and clamp. Then for now, let's do input min 49, 0.51. We're getting something there. Just going to increase that global stroma. Did I actually assign this guy? Okay. Let's do the lens. Or hide the lens even. Okay, so it is working. set that to 10 by 10 by 10. There we go, okay. And then we show... Okay, so this might work. So let's lower that back to 1000. I hope you see what the general idea is. But it's fine if you don't. There we go. So basically we're able to create holes in the top layer, which if I create a map for this, you can just paint where you want crypts to be and it will do the layering for you, is the idea. Now obviously this noise isn't what we want. We'd want something more like 0.7, let's try that, to 0.6, a little bit of a fall off. Bit too low. 0.6. Oh wait, no, that was actually where I wanted it to be. It was just that wasn't 0.5. I did it again. Wait, it's the opposite of what I want. Let's go the opposite way. So let's do 0.3 and 0.4. This will just create like random holes. So we could do a map for this. I just need to figure out the values basically. I did it again. Why do I keep doing that? Yeah, there we go. The closer these values are together, the closer those, or the tighter those holes are going to be. There's like the fall off of them. So that means that you'll actually get somewhat of a fall off as your map goes between gradients. So it's technically not going to act correctly because what's changing is the thickness as well. I like the holes, like the crypts on that top layer of the stroma are actual like gaps. They're not like lower density. So those gaps are going to have like a roll off to them, and this shader won't do that. But it will look like it does. So close enough for me. Let's do 4.2. Yeah, that will give us general crypts and stuff. It just goes without saying that we'd have to set up the same kind of camera setup we had on the last project too. But yeah, so theory works. There's a few things I need to figure out. For example, do I want a physical separation between the two layers? I think I do, because that will allow light to get under. Are you building as procedurally? No. So I'm doing this right now because I want to avoid doing maps too early. I'm just blocking things out. But yeah, I mean, the idea is to put maps in there, basically. Okay, so let's pause the render for a moment. What's going to be best? Let's see what distortion does. That's interesting. Let's set this to like 555. And at some point, what we'll have to do is like a really fine version of this to get all these tiny pits and holes. So it gives a really cool effect. And I think most irises will have this, regardless of color. It's just that you can't see it on the sparser stromas. Either way. So I'm going to create a float color constant. Is there just a way to just generate a float? I know you can just do like a ramp, I guess, but... Oh, ramp float, maybe. Scale. It saves me typing it all the time. Yeah, there we go. So it's like 100. We will also need a bit of displacement, like volume displacement. That looks interesting though. Gives us a bit of texture already. In fact, actually, yeah, I might keep that. I quite like what that's doing. In fact, I really like what that's doing. We've kind of immediately done this. Cool. Right, so what's the next thing to look into? Well, let's do micro. Although I feel like this would be something that applies, like this specific thing would apply to all the layers. We're going to need to already start simplifying some of these. Hide those. Okay. I do need to find a way to disable auto layout, because that's going to be the death of me. Either way. So we have something there. Let's see what happens when we put the slit lamp on. And then color-wise, getting that stretch might be a bit much. Okay. What's going to be the next thing to do? Let's get that distortion. So not distortion. Let's get that stroma separation. So I'm going to get the ciliary. Okay. So if we pull this forward just a touch, we'll now find there's a gap between them. Now I will probably need to find a way to automate that gap, so I'm not having to do like ridiculous, precise shit all the time. But we'll now have like an overhang effect. Which is going to be hard to see, but... Here I can see it a bit actually. It's too much right now, but it is working. So we need to find the correct thickness for this. This is where the jaggedness of these lines comes from. Okay. So let's see. What if we do shading? X-ray. Then turn off selection highlighting. Yeah, it doesn't help. Show, viewport. Still a gap. So I think our exterior geometry is a little bit too thick. So what I need to find out is how big are the crypts compared to how big are crypts going to be compared to the God, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a clue. Okay. Should we try doing a map? Because I feel like a map's going to really help me figure out if this is working. Let's give it a try. Okay, so we need to set up a orthographic camera that always follows the pupil. So we need to create a new perspective camera. I know I just said orthographic, but we'll get to that in a moment. Call this one iris projection cam. And throw that in to the iris group. And it's going to call it camera. In fact, I'll create a utility group, and we'll throw the wrap mesh in there too. Okay. So we need to get that iris projection camera, look through it. We already are. Cool. Zero these out. So let's do square. Okay, square. And then I need to enable orthographic. that works. Okay, so then we're going to need to hide everything pretty much and render that. So this, in essence, is going to be how we paint our textures. This is going to be so interesting to figure out. Okay. That's clean enough. Yeah, it's only a demo, fuck it. Save image. We're going to go to iSetup, Maya, images. We need to create a folder, really. I didn't think about my folder structure for this. Iris projection. Temp. Cam. Okay. So we have that. I'm gonna crack open Critter and grab my Wacom. Okay. So let's move that there, move that there. Let's do get Critter back open. Move that to the screen for a moment. Open file. Then CG stuff. Projects, personal projects. My shading. Maya. Okay. So all we're going to do for this is do a layer on top. We need to add a fill layer as well. So saturation, 0 value. I guess we kind of want the opposite actually. Yeah, we'll paint a mask. Okay. So another fill layer. This one should be 100% value, 0% saturation. Okay, then we're going to add a mask for this guy. Get rid of this. Okay, and then we just need to paint roughly where we want the holes to go. There we go. Why am I struggling so much with this? Okay, so this, I want to create a fill layer, which fills to white. So 100%, 0%. Okay. I'm gonna lower the opacity of that guy. And on top of that, I guess I could just paint black, couldn't I? What the hell are my colours? I don't like that my mouse cursor is invisible. So, we'll just do an extremely basic. I could just trace an image of an eye, but it's gonna be interesting to see what gradients do with this actually, so. This is going to be extremely basic stuff. Okay, let's do a bunch of varying. I wish I could see my cursor. Okay. I know it looks dumb, but we'll project this. So I'm going to save as test opacity. Wow. Test. Okay. So then back into Maya. We need to set up a projection. Okay. Render cam. Okay. Does it have to be a perspective camera? Okay. It does, okay. I'll ballpark that back to where it was. We don't need to line up perfectly yet. Let's just do 1k square. And I guess while we're at it, let's change the Full color for this bad boy. Okay, that'll do. Lock attribute. Okay. So projection camera is set to that guy. Off-screen color, sure, why not? I need to mess about with this. And mess about with that too. I guess world will be the correct one. And create a file, texture, projection color. Beautiful. And for now, what we'll do is just replace that multiply this guy. It works. It's not perfect, but it works. That's what ratio 1. Yeah, that's working. Just line that up where I want it. Something like that. 275, okay. Lock attribute. Resave this. Save image. Okay. Let's see. So if I take that into Critter now. File. Open. Okay, cool. Let's grab a quick iris texture. I just want to see how easily I can copy images into this. Huh. If you search iris texture, it's your boy on the Foundry website. So let's do iris HD. Hey Matt, can I ask about your machine spec? Sure. So this machine, because I've got 2 at the moment, although the other one's not used. This machine is a Ryzen 7950X, so the 32 thread 16 core one. A Asus 4090. Which one was it? The TUF. And then 128 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM. So it's a powerful boy. Hey Johnny, Mr. iGuy himself. That's my thing. Oh, perfect. I'm gonna try using this map. Copy image, edit, paste. So I'm just going to test with this, and then later on I can actually make a proper version. There you are. That lines up a bit too well, doesn't it? So what I'll need to do is just do a levels on this guy. Add a, let's see, filter layer, levels. Now let's try painting on top of this. Okay. I don't want to just like steal this guy's image. I mean, it is just for a test, but I think that doesn't really matter to me. I'm trying to remember. There we go. Just need to deepen some of these guys. I'm wondering if I can use the density map also as a displacement to set the thickness. That could potentially work quite well. Okay, I think for the sake of a simple test, this should be good enough. Just gonna quickly fill out some more of these crypts. Hollow this bit out. Okay, that'll do. Let's just quickly add some blocks of value. Okay. See how that works. So let's save this. Save as. Okay. And then in this file, we need to reload it. And while I'm at it, technically it is sRGB, but I'm going to set it to raw data. Really? Really, Maya? Come on. Oh, it went straight back over itself. Alright, cool. We're going to need to do levels on this guy. Let's do a contrast. AI range. It works. Kind of. So, how would displacement work with this? Well, let's first off go back to the render cam. And HD. And show everything else. Ah, there we go. That's certainly a thing. So that gets us the overhang with one map. We need to work on displacement and like getting it to have roundness. But that does get us these shadows. Like we see how obviously density and values aren't right, but we get these little shadows, and we're going to get that now. We just need to figure out the actual range of these things. So step. What if I literally just throw this into displacement as well? Like if I throw it directly into the surface displacement. I don't know if I have my displacement set up. Ooh, hello. Not 0.1. Range. For now, I only want this to displace outwards. Output max 0.1. 0.01. 0.001. Okay, well something's broken. Okay, if that's not working, what do I do to make it work? No. Wait, what? kind of works, but what is it we're seeing behind that? What's this? Fix it in post. Fuck off, Johnny. That has to be the mesh collapsing on itself, but why is it... Oh, wait, yeah. Clamp. Okay. So it's not that. Okay, let's temporarily disconnect the volume shader from this guy. Actually, keep that connected. Let's get a displacement working first. Well, that's certainly something. Obviously not what we want, though. This contrast isn't doing anything. Yeah, this isn't doing anything. What's going on there? Okay, we'll use this one. That was going to density, right? Input 2, yeah. Okay. So that's the 0 to 1. That's not doing anything. Okay. Okay, so that geometry's not got holes. Range this down 0.2. Let's contrast that a little bit. 1.2. Okay, so I don't want contrast. This contrast is making it worse. I need to clamp this one. Okay. 1.3. Okay, so that's not going to produce what we want for the most part. Can I smooth step this now? Do full scene. That's better though. So what happens now if we start showing the other geometries? To delete these. Getting some artifacts up here. Okay, yeah, so our displacement's doing too much. But it's gonna work. Well, that's certainly working. So AI range. Update full scene. Okay, so the final setup's gonna need a map that is essentially a height map, and it will create a density from that. I've got to do a bit of a think, and those things are dangerous. Can I use also use a Maya ramp to fine tune? Yeah, the Maya ramp is something I need to use more often. I used to use it a lot, and I've kind of got out the habit of it because I work in Houdini. So I've just like unlearned that, I guess. But yeah, no, definitely worth looking into that. There's also the Arnold ramp float. I think you can set like a custom input to that. But yeah, so okay, from here. There's going to be a lot of shit that I need to figure out in this project, because some of the stuff is going to be unfairly complex. So for example, getting this diffuse, like I need the diffuse to get that kind of surface kind of reflection thing. It's not a reflection. The surface kind of glow and then the volume one behind it. For that to work, I need the diffuse to be white, but the way I used to do the Limbus color was by having, maybe I could do scatter. The way I used to do the Limbus color was to change the diffuse as it rolls onto the cornea, and that gives you a fall off on the Limbus area, and then because transmission takes over, you don't see it for the rest. But now you would see it. I think scatter might be the way to do it, like if I change the scatter color. But then I need to change the scatter depth. Oh, Jesus, okay. Adding one feature makes everything so much more complex, which always makes me laugh. Let's just lower this displacement even more. Update, full scene. The displacement should be really minimal. Yeah, we'll need to make some kind of iris generator, I think, for this to work properly. Okay, but it is working. So let's do mult crypts. Then we're going to do another AI multiply. Mult micro breakup for now. So we'll also add some volume displacement, and that will get us the really intricate details. Yeah, you can see we're definitely getting something. So I think this method's gonna work. It's just the maps will need to be really nice. Okay, let's change up the lighting a bit. I want to get rid of the split lamp for now because it's a bit distracting. And then let's set this guy to full brightness. Oh yeah, we do also need to add a light blocker at some point. But it looks like it's going to work. The reflections bug me a lot. They're really far too glossy. We also need to get some breakup on the sclera itself. Trying to figure out how I can add nice controls to like automatically create the depth of that top layer. I don't think vector displacement will work for that. So it's back to -1. I'm going to change -3 even. I'm going to create a new light rig. So let's duplicate that, then hide it. It's going to be light B. This guy is going to have a file plugged into him. Then go to the asset library, the environment, scene textures, HDRs. Well, that's interesting. Oh, I forgot my I created a light. I don't know how this has happened, but at some point, this HDR that I made this in like university. So this is actually Bournemouth University. I think, yeah, you can see it on that little board there. It says, "Give me a first, please," like, 'cause I asked, like, just fucking about with shit. But riddle me this. This is a orange wall, and it reflects purple. Like, you can see this in the flip normal tutorial as well. For some reason, this visibly orange wall reflects purple. I don't understand how I did that. Like, it doesn't make any sense. We're going to change light rig though, because that's obviously not going to work. I wish I could default it. Actually, I could just turn on ignore color space rules, and it won't change. Give us a moment to do this thing. Looks like it's working. Okay. So we need to do a layer RGBA. This will be our sclera color. Base call. And okay. The inside should be red really, but I kind of need a geometry to place this inside. I'm gonna grab the John Singer Sargent geometry cache, Alembic, import Alembic. Personal projects. John Singer Sargent, where you at? There you are. Modeling, publish. There you go. I'm not going to build a skin shader. Not for a while, anyway. So let's get rid of the clothing. Let's get rid of the... We'll keep the caruncle, I guess. Use that to line up with... For now, I'm just going to line this up with the eye. Because I know that the eyes are about the same size. They're not going to be in the same shape, but they're going to be close enough. It'd be interesting to see actually what the shape differences are here. Let's match that as close as I can. Okay. Then we'll hide the... There we go. get rid of the meniscus for now. Close enough. Why is it still... It's an old ends now? It's not? Okay, that's good. I already know it's going to take a lot of debugging. Okay. I really need to figure out why the pupil isn't black. Why isn't the pupil black? Oh, is it older subsurface coming through? So I need to colour the inside of this thing. Okay. Yeah, because inside the eye is a ciliary body. So we're fighting against that now. Okay. Cornea inner. So that's going to control mix 2. Yeah, there we go. Okay, but technically that should be a different colour. It should be red. So we probably need to change the subsurface amount when it's on the inside. Still doesn't reach black, but... -2. Arnold, lights, area light. Send new material. Doing pretty much all my lit dev to AGX punchy, which might be a mistake. A little bit worried about how bright the pupil always is. Okay. Next course of action, what we're doing. Oh, this is way too bright now. We need to change the specular roughness on the sclera. We need to add bump to sclera. Obviously we need color as well, but yeah, at some point. Just gonna graph this, rename this. This one's also cornea matte. This one is stroma. Layer, Carl, cornea. Okay. So we're gonna need... I'm still really unsure about the depth of that secondary stroma. Micro over 2 Tocam. Great upgrade for the videos. Thanks, man. Yeah, I figured it's like there was an element of me that during the Outgang interview did quite like the fact I can actually like talk to people rather than just be a disembodied voice. Granted, there's a lot about the Outgang video and the way I looked and that I'm not too fond of, but it's, you know, one of those things. Really not sure how to go about the stroma. Because it's a bit too simplistic right now. What happens if we set a scatter? Yeah, we do get that. Okay, so we do want it to scatter white, but when we're on the limbus, we want it to scatter a different color, I feel. I guess I probably want the depth to increase, or decrease, as we approach that. So I guess we want a range which connects to out ISO cornea. This needs to max at 3, but then min at like 0.2. And this is going to be our scatter transmission depth, scatter depth. So if I set this to be 3, I need to see how this looks. Let us render for a moment. The eye is already slow to render. This is going to be a fun project. Give it a few more moments. Okay, view, store snapshot. Okay, so then set output min to be 0.01. Are we getting any change? Okay, is this doing anything? What if I change the input min to be 0.4? That kill this. Or is that just the first sample issue? Yeah, it's not doing anything. Interesting. Okay. So we can't change depth. Doesn't seem to work. So what if we change the color? Well, if we reduce depth to 0.2, but then reduce the scatter, we get the same look. So if I set this to 0.1, and then create a layer RGBA, Nimbus color, overwrite, right, Limbus scatter, color, this will be cornea scatter call. Then plug you, not you, you into mix 1. And plug this into the scatter color. That might work. Does scatter not support UVs? Looks like it doesn't. Oh, I know. Are we getting that blue now? We are. Okay, we're in business. So we need to match this. To what it was before. So that's too dark. It's scattering 20% light, let's say. Touch brighter. And this guy. To make it super blue. Just so we really see it. Yeah, that works. Okay. So, that's how we have to do the Limbus. But we're going to need to gamma that differently. This unfolds so quickly. This is going to be a monster of a shader. In terms of just the amount of shit it's got going on. This line's too... This needs to be sky blue by default, and it desaturates from there. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to 82 and step this back a little bit. Again, the difference between these numbers is the softness. And the larger this is, the more area I've got for my limbus color to come through. But then, how do I get it to go black? Because sometimes the limbus can go black, and I can't scatter black. It's too soft. Right, okay, so yeah, that won't work. I like the effect it gives though. Although this isn't accurate. I don't think. Kinda. Mine's too intense, but... So how do we go to scatter black then? Does Astropi do that? That changes the brightness too much. Yeah, I could do that maybe. So rather than transmission scatter, we'll have it... Well, no, because it is a scattering effect. Transmission color isn't the same thing. Let's see how well this works. Time is up. 8 o'clock. Right. Store a snapshot in a moment. Okay, then what happens if we slap that back up here? This Limbus color is going to be so much more complex with our new setup. It barely moves. Let's try creating another range. There we go. This is the test. Okay, so let's put this to 7.9. Yeah, it's not going to work. This is going to be difficult. Okay. There has to be a way to do this. Okay, let's take a break from that. Emulate what's happening. Trying to figure out the Limbus color, because with our new general technique, it's not gonna play nice. Let's hide the cornea group. To get the inside faces of both of these. Yeah, that's way too thick. I don't know why I thought that was the right call. That will give the impression of these crypts being deeper. There you go. That's a lot better. We will need a control for that though. Let's give that a moment to catch up. Yeah, it absolutely will need a control. Missing the epithelium. There we go. That could work. So I'm trying to figure out how to add thickness and give like control over the profile of the stroma. With it being surface based, I could mask the front and multiply it with a circular ramp to give you like ramp control as to what the profile should look like. I don't know why I keep doing that, it's not going to help you. That could work. It's not going to be something I do today, but later on in this entire process. Let's just quickly go to this guy. Gonna paint a little bit more on this. Did I paint everything on? I did, I painted directly on this. Alright, cool. Want to do a section of the eye which has like way more crypts. Just to see how it looks. So let's do a section right here. I want to see what this does. These textures looking clean. Yeah, so I grabbed this image. Annoyingly, I've painted directly on it. But I grabbed an image from online. Which, do I have it anywhere? I don't. And I've just painted over it, because I'm just using this as a temporary thing. I'll figure out a way to like actually create textures later. But for now, I'm still trying to figure out like how my shader will work with maps. And so I don't want to spend too long like painting anything yet. so let's get into this guy. That's a lot more interesting. There we go. We also need to do like internal structures as well, groom-wise. Currently we're way off that, but we'll get there. But yeah, I mean, let's quickly test it actually. So that's yeah, so we can create a pretty nice mask system to make this work. That underlayer is going to need some crazy displacement as well. But I think we can do a lot of this. I might need to remodel the iris because I could set it up so the geometry is created almost entirely in the shader. Like, you give it the curvature as a base in terms of the geometry itself, and then all of the iris details can be generated with 2 or 3 ramps and a map. And that would give you control over everything. Layers of separation, all that sort of stuff. Because we're displacing the geometry, so we have usual controls. You can sculpt it if you want to. Although I wouldn't recommend sculpting it. And then, yeah, this could work. Here's what we had at the start. Here's what we have now. Most of it's not really changed, but oh well. Need to get some noise in there. Okay, do we have any good ref of the bump of the sclera? I think we do. Okay. Eye side light. Let's see what comes up. Now, one of the complexities of the displacement, though, is anything that we do in UV space can't be applied to the color. So we're going to need to project most things. This is going to get tricky. Yeah. How would I do this? I have to find a reference. I need to find like good images of the bumps of a sclera. I'll search that. Sclera bumps. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get a lot of medical. Okay. Sometimes geolite is sculpted with SSS shader. Yeah, I mean that's the way most people do and should do it. The only reason I'm not doing that is because it doesn't really give the correct light response, and when you've got like internal structures, because I will be adding like a groom for the fibers inside here, you can't really do that with the SSS approach. You can paint them on, but then you run into different issues. I'm going to add this noise to the other one, Strummer. Gonna create this guy. Well, actually, let's just plug him in here. Pause this for a moment. Wait, yeah. So that's now applied to both of them. That feels better. I should have took a image before. But that micro crypts thing just really adds some nice breakup to the surface. So the furrows are going to be easy to do. Wait, we can get that to work. Okay, yeah, so we'll have to do most of our displacement with projections. However, that doesn't mean we can't mask it with UVs. So I think we should be okay. Now, in theory, I can even have the two sides of the Oh, the shader could control the size of the gap. This shader will be fucking massive if I did that, but it could work. Is it too much to explain right now? Probably. And say probably. Yes, it is too much to explain right now. Let's see. This is still working interestingly. You're welcome, Anthony. Or Anthony. Okay, let's hide the slit lamp. Our eye color is too sensitive. It's too sensitive to light direction. Okay, so what's going to fix that then? And it's going to be an anisotropy thing, right? Okay. That's so sensitive to light. Look how much that changes. Okay. Is there a diffuse element to these? There is not. So does it have to be just way brighter? Oh, that's going to get complex. Okay, so as we increase the brightness, more light's getting through it. Volume shading to be artistically friendly is not kind. Density needs to go up. Okay, so luminosity of the texture needs to also multiply. Oh, Jesus, okay. It's amazing what just changing one or two tiny things will do to a shader. Controlling the color for this is going to be such a nightmare. Why is my cornea scatter so soft now? You're gonna see a lot of that face. The kind of just confusion. I will remind people that at the start of the first episode of the stream, I did say how I don't know how I'm going to do all this. I'm just trying to figure something out, and I think now you're seeing it. Like, there's going to be a lot of thinking, like a bit too much, but I think we can get something usable out of this. It's just going to be a nightmare for me to build, but once it's built, it should be pretty robust in theory. It's just there's so many moving parts, like changing the color changes the density, kind of, because it absorbs more, which does make sense. But that means then that darker colors need to have lower densities. And then I need to find out, is it value based or does it go on something else? I'm not sure. You know, let's relax for a moment and do some spec work. Let's need to see if we can find some good reference of eyes. Dumb question, but will it be a blue eye in the end? It'll be whatever color you want it to be. So basically, the intention with this is to make an eye shader that can be reused across any number of assets. And you just change a map or two and it will give you something back which feels correct. Now, problem solver is our actual job description, for sure, yeah. Especially on stuff like this where there isn't really anything for me to go by. Like, I'm not aware of any, at least public, shaders that build these layers. There was something that Texturing XYZ did a long time ago. But I remember it being quite heavily pre-baked in, and it didn't look that great. Which I think is why they abandoned it. Because the first time I ever saw volume-rendered eyes was Texturing XYZ. But it just didn't look great. There was something to it that just fell off. The crypt system, though, is working a lot better than I expected it to. This looks strange, but it's probably just my layers having too much separation. Wait. I feel like building this in Houdini would be a lot easier. I need to find a ref with someone like looking to the side. See, the spec is super glossy. Still is looking for a ref on the other screen. Oh, I need to figure out the caustics too. Yeah, a lot of people have asked me to figure out the caustics. Which I might have a cheat that I can do, which is to duplicate that top layer of geometry, render it as a surface, but then apply a normal map that bends it in, but doesn't actually move the geometry, and make it specular only. And that will just mean that you get bright highlights on the opposite side of wherever the light's coming from, and it will look like caustics in theory. Granted, it will look like caustics that are smooth and featureless. Not really what caustics look like, but it would give you something, I feel. Oh, I like this image. I really want to figure out the limbus, though. This is the image I just found. Arnold and caustics. Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare. I don't think I can do anything to avoid it. gonna match this SSS. Let's go 28. I feel like this is a good amount of progress for one stream though. Like, I'm getting frustrated at the moment, but I do need to kind of pull myself back a bit and remind myself that I'm trying to figure something out. And it's okay to not get it right immediately. 26. I'll let this complete one pass, and then put the entropy back. It's that. I need to change the cornea thickness as well before I forget. Okay, let's store a snapshot with that. Then set this, I think it was minus 0.48, I'll do minus 0.5. Getting a bit more of a feedback on that side. I'm curious to what this side would look like in comparison. See how this light is brighter? Choppy is really, really helpful as a tweaking tool. Yeah, we're getting a darker shadow too. I prefer that. Cool, so we'll keep that in. This is going to get wild. Okay, so what's next? Yeah, one of the things we'll have to do as well is these furrows. I forgot the name of them again. So I looked into these. Supposedly, they're not actually a wrinkle from what's the word? From actual like contractions and all that sort of stuff. It's apparently something to do with like as your iris develops, it tears. So there's actually like strips of lower melanin counts as well as like a kind of indentation. And so that's why it's going to fade to green on this. The color green is low collagen and medium melanin, basically. So there's not much collagen there because it's collapsed. and the melanin is still there, but it's laid over blue, so you end up with green. I will have to figure out quite a lot with eye colors, but my understanding is basically no collagen, no melanin, you've got blue eyes, and that's caused by the same effect that makes the sky blue. Collagen, as you add more and more, prevents that effect that makes things blue, so it starts to go towards grey. It like desaturates the blue, and then on top of that, you've got melanin amount. So if you think of it as blue to grey to brown, as you add melanin but without collagen, you're going to go from blue to brown. Halfway along the way, you got green. If you add a ton of collagen, little bit of a ton of collagen, you go towards grey. Then a little bit of melanin, you're going to get some more like amber eyes, not super brown. So that's how you get like hazels and stuff. It's really cool shit. Like the more I look into it, the more I'm just fascinated by it. But yeah, okay. So Limbus is going to be something that I dedicate a stream to, I think. Let's go to our reflection roughness. Gonna bump that up a tiny bit. Although, what if I... I can use spec as like the base layer. But I need its roughness to reach near 0 at the front, because the refraction roughness is derived from it. So we need to do a spec roughness. Layer. Let's do a RGBA. LYR. If you want to do an RGBA for a roughness value, which is ultimately a float, it's because the slider goes 0 to 1 rather than 0 to like 1,000 or whatever the float does. This makes it a bit more interactive. Spec. Spec rough. Cornea. Need a clamp for this guy. Out. Spec rough. Cornea. Okay. So then plug that into specular roughness. We're just gonna go into this guy. Yeah. So this guy is going to have a roughness, let's say 0.5 for now. And brown, of course. So sclera spec R, and then enable overwrite cornea spec R. And as always, we're going to get that same bloody mask. Isocornea mix. Let me set this to non-zero, so let's do 1.5. And that gives us a double spec effect. Which means we can reduce the coat back down, because the coat is essentially a tear film on top, which is why the IOR is different. Although, I guess we need a little bit more than that, don't we? There we go. That gives us that nice double highlight effect. Okay, it's almost 9 o'clock, so I think it's time to end this stream. We've made a lot of progress, though. It's by no means perfect, but I need to add some bump. Yeah, noise. Let's do this on UV. Yeah, bump. Bump map. Jesus. There we go. So we need to remove it from the cornea as well. Do you have a schedule for your streams? Nope. I'll probably do tomorrow, same time though. Okay, so then we need to create a layer RGBA. Layer, bump, cornea. I wouldn't clamp this though, so we'll leave that alone. Sclera, bump, enable, overwrite, cornea, bump. And then okay, distortion is doing too much. Oh, we need the same bump on the coat too. What the hell's the coat? Coat normal. Don't know why that's not. There we go. Okay. Gonna remove that distortion. Oh, distortion's high. Okay. Still a bit too strong. That's better. Very curious to what this is though. Is it in the alpha channel? I want this to be invisible to the alpha. Okay. So curious about that. It's weird. But yeah, okay, so I feel like the next stream will be dedicated mostly to the Limbus. I do really want to work on the inner layer of the stroma as well, because that only really needs one thing, but I also refuse to work late tonight. So I've been trying to get into the habit of going to bed way earlier than I used to. As in, like, going to bed by, like, 10:30, 11. But then I wake up at, like, 6 AM, so... Obviously, I haven't spoke to you guys a lot for a while. But yeah, like, quite drastic lifestyle changes recently. I say recently, in the last few months. Lots more working out, lots more health focus, eating better, although I had a McDonald's today. But, yeah, is what it is. I'm gonna change that stroma. Not stroma. Epithelium. Make it darker. I probably need to thin that geometry out because it does look quite chunky. In fact, yeah, I say it looks quite chunky. It's very chunky compared to the ref. So we'll thin that out. Okay. Okay. This light response, breakup wise, is completely different. It's like it's casting through it, so we're lighting both front and back, which I shouldn't be able to do. Which I guess means the density needs to be even higher. Yeah, these density numbers are going to have to be crazy. If I add another 0 here. Yeah, we eventually start hitting basically solid. It's not bad though. Needs a lot more detail, obviously, but what was that set to before? 2,000? That's 20,000. Throw some subsurface on there. We're getting something. Right, I'll do one last change. And then I'm gonna stop. Pause that. Alt save. Just realised this. How long has that been there for? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that'll be it for today's stream, I think. Yeah, be happy with the progress. I need to figure out the Limbus. The Limbus is going to be a huge issue, just because how differently we're approaching it this time. In that we can't use the same old approach. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Maybe I need to do a blend material rather than just everything in one material. I have a cornea and sclera matte combined. That could work. That would work. Alright, cool. Well, next stream I know what I'm doing. Yeah, that would completely work. Sweet. Yeah, okay, cool. Next stream we're gonna do a layer material. To basically just recreate this, but the outside, so the cornea and the sclera have their own materials, get blended together. That would give me control over that blend in a way that I currently don't have. So yeah, we'll see how that works, I guess. I mean, it might not. I do still need to update UVs, because currently the texture UVs and ramp UVs are kind of nonsense. But yeah, I think we have something that's going to... material selection is going to be quite processed. No, not really. I mean, there's a lot of steps to this, but I mean, it kind of has to be, right? But yeah, what was I gonna say? I forgot. But anyway, I'm gonna end the stream here. But in terms of what we've got to do, in terms of like what's next, ignoring texturing because that's pretty obvious. We need to do groom for the inside of the iris stroma. We need to do a way to fake the caustic effect, which I might have, but not sure yet. And we need to do the layer material thing. Once we've done all that, I'll probably texture the sclera, because that's a quick win. It's easy enough. And then from there, we need to start on the process of building the stroma material like properly, which gets complicated quick. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, thank you for stopping by, and probably same again tomorrow, time-wise. Maybe Saturday, Sunday. I'm not entirely sure yet what I'm doing those days. But yeah, thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you next one. Cool. See ya.